This is Michael Tucker, and you're watching the new Legends on Deck podcast with host Brian Koss and David Condi.
Welcome to episode 44 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss, along with my co-host David Condi. And today's guest, we welcome Dave Borges to the show. And Dave he's got a long list of titles, but he's the umpire-in-chief for women's professional fast-pitch softball, USA Elite, USSA, and National Umpire-in-chief for the South region. He'll kind of explain all those positions to us. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for having me. I know I got you guys up early, but it's a busy business, brother. So thank you so much for letting me be here.
You bet.
We appreciate that. So our first question, like everyone's probably used to already, is kind of your background, but we want to just kind of share how we even got you on the show. Which was it was just by chance, godsend, whatever you want to call it. Brian and I were at the Savannah Bananas game in Tampa a few weeks back, and it was a horrible day weather-wise. It was raining, it was cold, and the game was playing. We decided to go, and I think it started raining at that moment. It was one of the innings in the game at the beginning. So we started to go into the tunnel. So we're walking in, so we get to the wall. And there's a lady standing next to us. So I don't know. We just started a conversation. And we started talking about baseball and the Savannah. And just kind of, we wanted to meet different people anyway, see how the fans were enjoying the game. And we mentioned what we did, because I believe I had my shirt on and Brian had his hat on. And she just started talking about you. And she started saying, oh, my husband he's an umpire for this league, Collegiate Summer League. Oh, wow, we connect with that. So it was just a weird connection that led us to you. So now we get to share your amazing story. So it's ironic. The more that Brian and I go out there and start meeting people and talking, we just keep meeting some amazing people. We can share your story. So now I'll stop talking and give you the mic and just ask you, kind of like share your background, baseball and softball. What led you to this? Where'd you get started? And just kind of give us, what are your early memories of baseball, and kind of just lead us up to where you're at right now.
Well, to tell you the truth, listen, before I even tell you that, now I have to pay my wife an agent fee since she got me into the show. Okay, so this is already costing me some money. Okay, but
there you go.
Listen, I'm born and raised in Puerto Rico. In our culture, when you're born and the doctor spanks you, you go strike. Okay, that's how embedded the game of baseball and softball is in our culture. From very early as a child, I played all the way through high school. I was not fortunate enough to be very good, in particular in those islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, all those Caribbean islands. If you're not a stud, you don't get to see playing time. But that's how I got involved from the very beginning in the game of baseball and softball.
Well, this is ironic. Well, I guess so that I'm going to just share this because, this is my pride and joy here. So I was given this for my birthday. Actually, I have another one, but I was given this for my birthday recently. And I love this hat. So it's funny. I had it sitting up here. Did not know you were Puerto Rican. Perfect. So what are your early memories of like just watching the game? Who was your favorite ball player? What time frame did you actually? What era were you actually playing in high school?
Well, when I was playing high school, it was during the time with Baltimore and used to be a pretty good club. St. Louis was winning championship. Louis has been winning for a long time, but they were hot during the high school time when I was in high school. Uh, Back then, I used to, being Puerto Rican, Yankee fan. I mean,
Uh
99% of Puerto Ricans are Yankee fans, okay? But I've always leaned a little bit towards St. Louis too. And back then, there used to be a catcher by the name of Daryl Porter.
yeah,
I
wow,
used
yeah,
to be a huge, huge fan of his, man. And he was my favorite player for a long time, all the way until Bernie Williams came along.
yeah.
Then after that, Bernie to me was it. And I will always say he may not be the greatest to everybody, but to me, he is the greatest player, man. So, but
Well,
you know,
I'll
it,
give you Bernie. I'll give you Bernie because I don't think there was any. I'm a Met fan. I don't think there was any Puerto Ricans on the Mets that were that good at the time. So I'll give you Bernie. I rooted for him too. He was an awesome ball player and a great musician. So
well, it's kind of funny because when I moved to the country, I moved to Connecticut, and the very first Major League Baseball game I ever went to was in Shea Stadium.
oh yeah,
Yeah, so there's the connection right there with the Mets, man.
there you go.
But
So when did you decide to go into the game on the officiating side? What brought you to that?
well, my son used to play baseball. I mean, it was only his second year playing, and I went to sign him up, and for the season. And my daughter, my middle daughter, was asked, "Hey, you want to play softball too?" So I let her sign up, and by the time that I had finished signing all the papers, that had already recruited me into umpiring. I had never called a game in my life, but I said, "Hey, you know what? I love the game. Let's give it a try." And I have to tell you, man, once I took the field for the first time, two things happened. First of all, it was a reality check. It's a big difference when you're at the other side of the fence as an official. You start to think back, wow, man, as a parent, as a coach, I might have not been the nicest person. But the other thing about it too is that you find a love for it, man, that you just become hooked. It's just an adrenaline, and you feel like you're part of something greater than the game itself, you know. So that's when I got hooked, when I went to sign my two middle children one time.
Wow. So you go from there, right? So you're here you are, and then now was this a volunteer position to umpire in that league?
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I
Right,
did,
right.
I did volunteer umpiring for many years before I
Okay.
got a first dollar
Yeah,
body.
I believe
But
you. Because
yeah.
most of the time at that level, it's a volunteer spot. But so you go from a volunteer little league umpire to where you are today in a professional capacity as an umpire. Um, can you tell us a little bit about I mentioned a few of your titles, um, and what capacity are you involved right now with the umpiring community? I believe it's all on the softball side as well. Um, can you tell us how that evolved and where you've gotten to in the game right now?
Well, I think that before stating the position that I hold right now,
Yeah.
I think it's very important to know how I got there.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of people. I happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I met the right people. And with hard work, I took advantage of those chances. But there were people that really pushed me along very fast. They saw something in me regarding my management skills and my leadership. And come with officiating, they saw that and they believed in what I wanted to create. I remember I was out on the other coast of Florida, and I took my daughter to a game. She was playing on a weekend, and there were short officials. And I had my gear in my car, and and I said, hey, I'll help out. But it just happens to be that one of the guys that you guys just saw in the girls in the women's college World Series, his name is Tom Mayer, and he happened to be there, and he saw me, and he, hey, he talked with me right after. Hey, listen, if you're interested in moving up, he saw something in me that he liked, and he gave me an opportunity. And I remember he getting a phone call from him and says, hey, listen, I got college games this weekend and I want you to work in them. So I was like, a truck had just hit me. It just hit me in my head, man. But I went out there. Like I said, I took care of the advantage of being able to be put in that position so quickly. Okay. I made sure that I made the best out of it. He pushed me along in the collegiate ranks. Eventually I met his boss, which is Christy Cornwall. She's the assigner for the SEC, and she gave me an opportunity in one of her camps. Grew through that. Then in the travel side with USSA, there's a young lady on the other coast. She's a director for one of the biggest directors for what we call U-Trip. USSA is known by U-Trip. Her name is Tanya Waters, and she saw me umpiring. She liked the way that I conducted myself, and she gave me an opportunity to become part of her team. And before I knew it, I was neck deep, and it was promotion after promotion. And a lot of people come to me and say, well, how did you do that in such a short time? Well, besides the fact that it was being in the right place and connecting with the right people, I work very hard at what I do. Very, very hard. And they saw that and they appreciated it and they pushed me along.
Wow. So you mentioned a very short period of time. So how many years are we talking about there?
I would say that I've been officiating for 11 years, probably going into my 12th year now.
Okay.
But there's people that have been doing this for 30, 40 years.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I would say that would be a a short time frame to go from, volunteer little league umpire to, on these boards of umpiring and all that. So yes, that's a short time frame for sure. And I mentioned, the umpire, you said you're umpire in chief for the women's professional Fastpitch. What does the umpire in chief entail? What is that? And you have a couple of those titles. What is the umpire in chief for those that are unsure?
So I became umpire in chief for U-Trip first. Okay, that's a travel organization. That is the largest youth sports organization in the world, for over 4 million members. And I was getting an opportunity in that. As I moved up, eventually I became the national UIC in the southern region, United States. What does it entail? Well, you're in charge of all the officials for that organization. When there's a question of rulings, you're the person they're going to call. When there's a decision that needs to be made on a ruling or sometimes an ejection, something like that, you're the last stop. Okay. You are in charge of assigning all the umpires throughout the organization. Last year, I was lucky enough that I assigned 17,000 games.
Wow.
And
yeah, lucky. Yeah, the word is lucky. 17,000 games assignment. That's your brain must be like one long schedule.
I lost that a long time ago. It's just like I said, there's just sheets of numbers is all it is in there.
Yeah. My goodness.
But with that position, I moved a little bit more into the high end and of they saw that the professional league needed somebody in charge of that very position. And they suggested my name to the commissioner. and the commissioner reached out to me. We had a great conversation. It was sort of like an interview, and she came back to me the second time, and she says, "Dave, we're going to give you the opportunity because we believe you're who we want here." So when she gave me that opportunity, I rolled with it, man. I not only took the opportunity, but I started creating new stuff within it, and the growth has been enormous. The team of umpires that I have, the accessibility for over 7,000 umpires across the nation. You know, um, Obviously in the NCAA, there's a lot of people that are qualified to do stuff like that. They're very good people, but it doesn't change the fact I was given the opportunity, and I'm going to roll with it. It's a great opportunity, and now being part of the professional league itself, it's even a greater accomplishment.
How far do you travel? I think when we met your wife, she had indicated you on the East Coast. You're on the road a lot. So how often do you travel, and when is your downtime? When do you have a break?
Okay, unfortunately, my job, there is no break. There's no break. It's 365 days a year. Okay, the phone has got to be. I mean, I'm in charge of everything from the island of Puerto Rico to Hawaii. So when somebody in Hawaii calls you at 1 o'clock in the morning, forgets that you live in Florida, you have to be available. You have to be available for all those for all of that. But the season for the professional league itself, it's in the summer. For a U trip for travel ball, it's the entire year. And for us fortunate to live in Florida, you know that sports in Florida is an everyday thing. The only Thanksgiving and years are the only 2 days that you don't have to work, but you sit down and you watch football and both of those days. So it's a 24/7 job, 24/7, no doubt.
Okay. So we've begun to really explore softball here on Legends on Deck. We kind of got into more of the collegiate side of it. But the people know about the professional side of softball. Can you give us an overview of what women's professional softball looks like? And what is the officiating any different than it is on the college level? Are the rules any different? Can you just give us like an overview of that?
Well, for starters, fast, 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 fast. The game, if you sit down and you watch a baseball game and you compare it to a collegiate softball game, you can see that the speed in the collegiate game, it's a lot faster. Okay. But once you get into the professional ranks, you start thinking in being a sports, I've always looked at when people get into conversations with who's the best and who was the best of all time. And regardless of what competition, when you are the best of what you do, don't look at it as you're the best out of this sport. I look at it this way. There's 8 billion people on this planet. And when you're able to say you're the best out of 8 billion, then it really hits you. Wow. So then you take that particular sport in college and you have all these great teams, Alabama, you got Oklahoma who just won, Florida State, UCLA, and you see tremendous teams. They have 2, 3, sometimes 4 superstars. Okay. And you see how quick that game is. Then imagine once you get into the professional ranks, that entire are all superstars. I mean, the 11 that are sitting on the bench could be another professional team. So if you come from the college ranks and you were the superstar in your team, okay, here you're just another player. Okay, and the competition is fierce. These girls are all out, and this is going to sound strange, okay, because this is coming from a male, okay, but I'm going to tell you one of the reasons I admire and love the game of girls softball. Okay. And you're probably going to laugh when I tell you this, but girl take a line drive and she'll drop, and she may even share a tear, But you know what, man? She gets up and she continues that game. And you know that in our game in baseball, you get hit with a line drive, weeks off on the disabled list, and it's got to go through rehab and everything. These girls are tough, brother. These girls are tough, tough. And when you spend a lot of time in the business with them, you realize, man, this is a person that's dedicated their life and they know the importance of what they're doing. I admire it, man. I'm telling you, I sit behind the plate. I sit up in the booth when I'm watching my guys work. And I'm telling you, you watch these girls and the heart they put into it is beyond belief.
So can you explain that? I agree. I think that there is something there is something special and different about girls softball, women's softball. So can you explain real quickly the organization, WPF? What teams and locations does that include? A lot of us, we're used to MLB teams or whatever, but what all does that include?
The WPF stands for Women's Professional Fastpitch. Okay. The commissioner of the league is Lauren Chamberlain, and currently we have 4 teams. We have one team in Austin, we have a team in Oklahoma, a team in Florida, and a team in Alabama. The team in Alabama was based out of New York, but they just moved to Alabama because there's an announcement to be done here in the upcoming days. So that's about as much as I can tell you about that part of it. But there's talks about having a team from Toronto join the league in the near future. And the league, it's taken off very, very quick. We have come across some good sponsorship and some good ownership. The owner of the Austin team, it's Brandon Phillips, ex-Major League Baseball player.
No.
So that's a connection to Major League Baseball that we have right there, that it's only going to promote the sport more. The fans have been increasing, and the WPF found a way how to promote the sport and the league itself by connecting it to youth sports national championships. So anytime that there's a national championship, let's say in Kansas City, there's an enormous event this year. They bring in the professional league there, and the fan base is already sitting there. And that has helped spread like wildfire. It's taken off. I mean, we got several ESPN connections with ESPN. We're going to be showing a lot of our games on YouTube this year. But the sponsorship, it's starting to come along, and they can see that there's a future in it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's extremely smart, by the way. Like taking the games to where the players already are, right? So you're talking about the national championship youth tournaments.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. It's a sure way to pack out your ballpark, right? Now I'm going to change gears a little bit, and I'm going to ask you about the officiating side of things. I've had some conversations locally with people in the officiating and the umpiring community, and there seems to be a real shortage in officials and umpires, and I don't know if there could be a number of factors for that. Could be the pressure that's put on officials, could be just the lack of interest. What do you see as the major factors? And well, first of all, I ask, do you see that there is a shortage? And if so, what factors do you think contribute to that shortage?
Oh, the shortage, there's no doubt. I mean, that is the biggest number that hits everybody when you get into this business. The average umpire right now, it's above the age of 50. And that is a pretty sad number to look at. Okay. But there's a lot of factors while we're there. We are sports officials, and I don't even look at it this way, just in the softball part of it or the baseball. I look at just in general, youth sports officials. It's a very tough business. It's a very, very tough business because, first of all, you have to be a person that could take the heat of a game. And when I mean the heat, I mean parents yelling at you, coaches disagreeing with you, players disagreeing with you. You are getting the blame for everything that goes wrong. But when everything goes right, it's the athlete who did an amazing thing. You know, to be part of an officiating crew at any sport, okay, especially in youth, you have to have put in a lot of time to get to that point where you're just polished and you know when to shut everything else and be able to do your job. And unfortunately, young adults, you know, even and when I say young adults, I'm even saying people who are in their late 20s, early 30s. In our business, that's very, very young, you know. Sometimes they feel, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna give it a try, but as soon as they take the field and they see the pressure that is put on them, it discourages them, and you know they walk away. I probably, if I was just gonna, and this is just a guess, okay, if I was gonna say for every 10 umpires that try for the first time, okay, every 10, if we get 2 to stick around, we're very lucky. Very lucky. It's a tough business. It's a tough business, and if you get offended easily, it's not for you.
So yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. That's a pretty, yeah, like you're saying, that's an 80% fail rate then. So 20%, you know, 20% retention, 80% fail, which makes it difficult. So what do you think could be done in that case to maybe encourage more young people to get involved, or to retain people that can, you know, have, what do you think it would take?
Well, you know, I happen to be lucky enough to work with a lot of guys that are very, very good at what they do. And they've come up with suggestions, and we try to put a lot of plans together how we can recruit people. Okay. One of the things that came along in the last few years, and I would say probably the last 2 years to be exact, it's that go to high schools and see these seniors that are about to graduate who play baseball and softball, and they love the game, but you know that they've reached a point where they're not going to play anymore. They unfortunately they don't get scholarships because you know they don't read. They're not part of that 1% that gets into college to play, and you offer them a spot to still be part of the game, and on top of that, make a little bit of money. Okay. The officiating business is not a high paying business until you get into the professional ranks. Okay. But for somebody coming out of high school, some even young college students, you know how tough it is to be in college these days, man. The expense, and you're there, and how many of these college students go and work at a fast food chain for hours just to they can make some money, you know, and sustain themselves. So we offer them a way to come out on a weekend, you know, work 8 hours today, 6 hours tomorrow, just here, and you can walk away easily with between $400 to $600. You know, that is a selling tool to try to encourage to bring more people on board. But ultimately, it doesn't matter how much money you offer sometimes. Once they see how tough it is and how demanding it is to be able to do this, the money is not enough. It's not enough, and it's underpaid. But a lot of people who are not part of it don't value the importance of what being an official.
Well, the crazy thing is, and this is the one thing that I know you share with us prior to being on the show, and I think the new kids coming, anyone that's coming in to be an officiating has to have seen it as well all over social media, is the lack of respect for the officials and the umpires. It's the parents thinking, or the fans thinking that they have the right to yell at an official, curse him out, you know, demean him, meet him after the game, when it's a game. It's just a game. And we've seen videos that, you know, a parent attacked an umpire and knocked him out because he didn't like what he called on his son, you know. And so I'm sure that you've seen that. I'm sure you've witnessed that, maybe firsthand. You know, what's your experience with that? And you know, what do you think is the true decline of the fan base? Because I don't think many years back, and I could be wrong, we've seen as much as we see nowadays, and especially in the youth level. With, you know, I sit there sometimes, and I'm a coach, and I have to tell parents sometimes, hey, cool it, because I have respect for the umpires. I know there are some umpires that get the calls wrong, but at the end of the day, we have to respect. You know, you guys are calling the games. So kind of like, you know, share with us what's your experience with that and what's your take on that.
Well, I always like to I always like to work things out in a way that explains the reasoning for something. Okay, there's got to be a reason why we do this. And you take sometimes I have had parents or even coaches, and very commonly just have a conversation with me and want to know, you know, what is it that why is it that umpiring or officiating a game is so difficult, and their opinions and how inaccurate, you know, and inconsistency. So I'm going to throw a couple of things here, and I know I don't want to drag this too long, but there's two things that I explain here when I do this. First of all, in the youth sports tournament, an official can easily, throughout a weekend, officiate 10 to. Let's just start with that. That official, it's on the field the entire inning. He doesn't get to go sit for half an inning in the dugout, come back out, rest the other. He's there for the entire inning without the entire game, without a break. Okay. That official will see in the average of an entire tournament easily 2,000 pitches. Not a doubt, about 2,000 pitches. Is he going to miss some pitches? Absolutely, man. If you show me an umpire that tells you that he doesn't, I'll show you one. I'll show you one who does. Okay. But I tell the parent, well, look at it this way. So your kid, how many at bats she had this week? Oh, she batted 10 times. And she batted what? 300. So she had a great weekend. She batted 400 this weekend. And you know, in our game, 400, you're a stud. Okay. So your kid batted 300. Okay. So she was 3 out of 10 out of 10. And the umpire that saw 2,000 pitches missed 5 pitches. So the accuracy of, she fell 7 out of 10 times. The umpire fell 0.03%. And you're telling me that it's the umpire's fault that your child was not successful. And sometimes, listen, I can tell you the majority of the parents or coaches, they hear that, they look at it and they say, wow, I never looked at it that way. You know, and it's, we try, man. We try camps. We spend our own money. When we go to these camps to become better, these camps could easily cost us $2,000. And we do it once a year, okay, to get better. And that's money that we're never going to get back. But we're investing in ourselves. Those are things that a lot of parents and coaches don't see. You know, they don't see that part of the game. Another thing that I always bring up too is, it's a small story here that I got, but every time that we have a conference like the NCAA conference, you know, convention, I'm sorry, the convention, you know, you get these coaches up there and they're like, well, we just want to see consistency. We just want to see consistency. So earlier in this, when we started talking, you asked, how much do I travel? I practically live on a plane, man. Okay. So this past year, I traveled what was the equivalent of 3 times around the world. Okay. And every time I go through the airport, through security, just like you guys do when you travel, my carry-on bag has the exact same items every single time. Doesn't change. 80% of the time I go through security, nothing goes. Not a problem. I grab my bag and continue. The other 20%, they take my bag and they start checking everything. They look into it and everything. So one time I'm at the airport going through that experience. And you know how in the airport they have the top sheriff in the top, on the desk, and he's watching everybody. So I take my time and I go to him. I call him by his name. His name is on his shirt, and I happen to be wearing one of my shirts with my name. So he addressed me by my name, and he says, "Well, Dave," I asked him, "Why is it that my luggage, the same bag that has the same items, gets checked sometimes and sometimes it doesn't?" And he says, "Well, Mr. Borges, let me tell you this. Every airport has the exact book of rules. Every airport. Every airport has got the same equipment and machinery. The only thing that is different here is that every machine is being looked at by the human eye. And what your eye may judge something, mine may judge to be something else. And that's the very reason my judgment determines to look into your bag at one point, but the next person next to me may not look at it that way." And I said to him, "Man, that is the best explanation that anybody has ever given me that I can apply to my business." Okay, because what may look like a strike to you may not look like a strike to me. And it's just because ultimately the human eye is involved in what we're doing.
I think that's perfect. That's a perfect way of thinking about it. And if you could tell that story to other coaches and other people in the industry, both that story and your statistic about the failure rate of an umpire versus the failure rate of a player, I mean, that puts everything in an entirely different perspective. So
I think we'll do that. I think we'll just share this out to everyone and say, you have to watch this.
Right
at this point.
Before you go start screaming at umpires, let's watch the end of this podcast. But right. So I think that's the perfect place for us to kind of wrap up that conversation, because we can't top that conclusion, I would say. So Dave, we really appreciate you spending time with us today. Really interesting story, really interesting background, and how you got involved in this whole big 24/7, 365 business of umpiring. Yeah, it was another great story from David and I to tell, or to let our guests tell, and also to bring that strange connection that we keep having with people, where we run into somebody's sibling or wife or somebody, and it turns into a great baseball story. So,
my agent,
your agent, make sure you're paying your wife that commission fee.
She already has she has a contract set up. Once you get off the phone, once you get up, she's gonna ask you how it was.
She's gonna book you for somebody else that next
well,
week.
the only difference here is that I'm the one that gets the 6%. She gets everything else.
That's right. That's right. Dave, you want to mention our sponsors?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to DC3 Bat Company. They make custom batting gloves, baseball gloves, and bats. Oh, there you go. That is the Legends on Deck official DC3 glove.
It's finally here. I finally brought it on the podcast.
So everybody can see it, Drew. I also have the official Legends on Deck logo T-shirt that we have on our merch shop, which has the DC3 logo on it. Well, this is a real glove that he makes. So, and then we also want to thank, before I get to the merch shop, just thank Easy Mortgage. They do residential mortgages, refinances all over the country, mainly out of the state of Florida. And as you see, Brian's hat, that's part of our merch shop as well. So anybody looking to wear the official Legends on Deck logo, check out our merch shop. And we got some great styles in there. And we just want to say, once again, thank you, David, for coming on and sharing this amazing story. We've been talking about it for months. We need to get someone in the umpiring family out here just to kind of share that angle. We're looking at every single angle that we can grab in baseball, softball, that many people don't even think about. And I think anyone that's going to watch this is really going to get an idea of, what it takes to be an umpire. That it's just, like you said, it's not an easy job, but you guys have a passion, just like the softball players, just like the baseball players, just like everyone in the sport, the officiating, you guys have a passion to do the right thing, to call the game the right way. And at the end of the day, all we ask for is that the parents, the fans, the players just show respect. So at the end of the day, you're right. The accolades go to everyone else, but the errors go to you guys. I think at the end of the day, the way you officiate a game is very important. And it helps the game to go along. It helps the game to be great the way it is. So thank you again for what you do.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking your time. And I can tell you that what you guys are doing is something very, very, very good for our sport. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dave. Episode 44, Legends on Deck podcast.
Thank you.